Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Reverend Lance. Today we're going to talk about the term church. We're going to define what a church is, what makes up a church, and etc. First of all, a church is a body of believers. We have mistakenly associated church as an institution. You can have church in jail, school, or at home. Whoever reads the Bible is in church. When two or more believers are gathered together, you can have fellowship with God. Paul tells us that we should know how to behave in God's house. He also says God's house is the church of the living God, 1 Timothy 3:15. Paul tells us to hold on and stand firm to the traditions taught in God's house, 2 Thessalonians 2:15. God's house is the church. And everywhere you go, you are in God's house. In church, we are dealing with two forces of nature. God's force and Satan's force, the devil's force and Jesus, because the devil goes to church as well. The devil steals, kills, and destroys. He is a thief, a liar, and a murderer. John 10:10 and John 8:44. The devil wants to steal your soul. The spiritual warfare is over being in charge versus being in control. God is in charge of the world, but God is not in control of the world. Satan is in control of the world, but Satan also wants to be in charge of the world. Satan has to get permission from God to do certain things, to take away things from man, and vice versa. We have to learn to not invite Satan into the picture when it comes to prayer, as in what Job did in Job 1:5, when he falsely prayed for a sin that his children supposedly committed when he had no proof of the actual sin. In church, you see a lot of false flaggings, both by people and by the ministers themselves. We should not be false flagging in the church. Any church that false flags, that condemns someone of their sexuality, race, gender, age, and ethnicity, they invite Satan into the picture. And we need to learn to not invite Satan into the picture. Therefore, you have two types of believers. You have believers who want to live according to the Word of God, and then you have believers who like to false flag. The church makes up both bodies of believers. So we have to distinguish between believers who represent the truth, light, and salvation versus the believers who represent the nature of Satan and false flagging. We need to eliminate false flagging from the church and welcome God into the picture. Thank you.